You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio Channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.
Welcome to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living. Joined each week on a journey toward overcoming life's many challenges to achieve peace, empowerment, and positive transformation. It's time to relax, unwind, and transform your life.
Hello, everybody. This is Amy Sherman, licensed mental health counselor and co-host to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living show on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. How are you today? Today we're going to have an interesting discussion on irrational thinking, and the topic today is how guilty are you of irrational thinking in your relationship. So we're going to get started. It's a wonderful topic. We're going to talk about 10 different irrational thoughts that we have that are counterproductive to our living a joyful and healthy life. So let's get started. It's human nature, as we all know, to get defensive sometimes when things don't go our way. We need basically to protect ourselves against comments or actions that seem in our thinking to be attacking our pride or be compromising our fragile ego. So what's important to do is to identify actually between a real attack, a complaint, or actually constructive comments. So in our mind, when we feel attacked, immediately we put our defenses up. And because of that, we start having irrational thoughts. And because many of these ideas that we have, these irrational thoughts, are based on should-bes or ought-tos or have-to kind of thinking, we get angry. And then we start thinking, oh, well, they're wrong, I'm right, look what happened to me, poor me, and our minds go off into a spiral. So it causes us to think irrationally, behave defensively, and often inappropriately. And because of that, we want to catch ourselves and bring the moment back into a healthier perspective. So let's talk for now about some of the irrational thinking, the defenses that we put up in order to protect ourselves, because we don't want to be in pain, we don't want to be hurting. So the following are some forms of irrational thinking, and you need to identify if you could relate to any of them, and of course replace them with more rational, logical beliefs, and we'll talk about that later on. Now the first irrational thought is what we call assumptive thinking. It's when you make assumptions or jump to conclusions about what's happening or will happening, and you generalize, or you assume rather, that your information will most likely be accurate. You know, this is what's happening, and I believe it to be so. Now, my mother, who is 97 years old, is guilty of this. She assumes that the neighbor across the way from where she lives in her facility is in the hospital because she didn't see her at dinner, when in actuality she does not have the facts, and the woman just ate out with a good friend in a restaurant. So we get caught up in this exaggerative thinking, and we make scenarios that we believe to be true, but in reality it's likely to be wrong. And the reason for that is because we do not have all the facts. So, you know, and you may be guilty of this yourself. If your partner, for instance, is late coming home for dinner, do you immediately go in your head and assume that he or she is having an affair at the office? So it's that kind of assumptions that we need to watch out for. And if you are guilty of this, we will have some solutions at the end of this recording. Another irrational thinking is what we call generalized thinking. And it's when you make generalizations like everybody thinks I'm stupid, or sometimes, I can't do anything right. And what we need to do when we have thinking like that is to throw in the word sometimes, which often softens the meaning for you. So you could say sometimes people think I'm stupid, and that's fine because I know I sometimes do stupid things. And that will kind of soften that irrational thought that, oh, people are looking at me and they think I am stupid. And, obviously you know you're not a stupid person, but when you think that people are thinking that you're stupid, this is just an example, of course, it starts your mind going into all different places and generalizing that everybody thinks you're stupid. So instead, you need to soften it. And using the word sometimes or once in a while or occasionally generally will help you reduce that generalized thinking mentality and help you not go into those negative places that will bring you down and cause you distress. How about this one, black and white thinking? And this is commonly called all or nothing thinking. It causes you to view things as either black or white with no gray area. So you believe, for instance, that people are either friends or enemies, or that you're either a success or a failure, or that situations are either good or bad. And life, however, is rarely that way, and we know that. It's not clean cut. Most often circumstances fit into the shades of gray, don't they, reflecting areas that are usually somewhere in between. And we need to know that. Things are not good or bad, and things are not what we think are or what we assume should be the way we believe it to be. So we need to understand that there are areas in our lives when things are not always the best and the greatest, and things are not always, people are, like me and don't like me. There's in-between areas, and if we come to realize that, we will be less angry, we will be less suspicious and cautious and all those other things that cause our irrational mind to blow up. Now here's another one, the closed-minded thinking. And this is experienced when you think you know it all and no one else can tell you otherwise. I know I have a lot of relatives who fall into this category. They know everything, and no matter what you say, it doesn't matter. They are right. And obviously, and we know with our rational minds that there's always room for more knowledge and insight. So you have to be the kind of person who's able to accept other opinions, ideas, and perspectives, even if they're not your own. And you need to be open and receptive to these new ideas because they just might be what you're looking for to be more successful. You know what I tell my clients? I give the analogy of trying on a new coat. If you put it on and it doesn't fit, then you take it off and you put on another coat, and if that one doesn't fit, you keep trying. So it's the same thing with ideas. If one idea doesn't suit you, it doesn't feel right, okay, let it go and try another idea. But you need to be open and receptive to these new ideas. Otherwise, you will appear to be a know-it-all, And you know how people feel about know-it-alls. We don't want to be around them because they're difficult to be around. So if you have stopped growing as a person, you may be alienating people around you because they don't want to be with somebody who just seems to know everything and is not open to any suggestions or any other opinions or any other perspectives, which is, is helpful. It's helpful in our growth, and it's helpful, in just getting along with other people, just to be, a little softer and more easygoing. And another one, vengeful thinking. And this, I had several clients who have this type of thinking. They tend to ruminate over past events and cause vengeful thoughts and grudges. And it's, what happens with that, and I had a client whose wife had an affair, and he obsessed over wanting to know all the details about the affair, but also how he was going to get back, not so much at her, but of the guy who she was having an affair with. And he ruminated, and he thought, now fortunately he did not act on any of it, but he spent a lot of time when he wasn't working and he had some moments free, he would think about it and dwell on it and plan it and plot it. And it became obsessive. It took over, his thinking, and, therefore he was seeing me in therapy. So it's best to leave the past in the past to the best of your ability and not carry it over to the present. And otherwise, what happens is, and what happened to him is that the past came into the present. It became his focal point, and it dramatically affected his experiences during the day, and and even his future, because he couldn't plan on moving on past, what he was dwelling on with his wife and her lover. So if you can somehow, maybe with therapy or on your own, let it go, knowing that the past is the past. You cannot change it. It's the way it is. And unfortunately for that, it's your life. There's nothing you could do about it unless, you could make some personal changes. This particular client that I had, he wound up divorcing his wife, and he did move on eventually, but it did take him quite a long time to get past the pain and the obsession of thinking of how he was going to get back. So just to summarize, we talked about assuming, we talked about generalizing, we talked about all or nothing thinking, we talked about the know-it-all who's not open to any other suggestions, and the vengeful thinker. And all of these are ways that we have irrational thoughts because in our minds, we have a belief system that says this is the way it should be, the way I'm thinking and the way I'm doing it, and anything else is not right. So we're going to continue. There are a few more irrational thoughts that I want to go over, but first we're going to take a break. This is WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living Show. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Cece Schatz, and I want to welcome you to Going Solo Next Step. We are an innovative, transformational site with a personal touch, as we are an online, interactive, social website connecting other like-minded individuals who are adjusting to their new life of being single. Going Solo Next Step will connect and help you deal with issues such as relationship loss, divorce recovery, relationship building, transition into dating, single parenting, spiritual connection, inspirational plus personal growth, sparking your career and understanding your life path, wants, and goals. As you begin relationship building, you will enjoy Going Solo Next Step social activities and forums designed to connect you and other like-minded individuals to make great, everlasting friends. Together, we will all have fun in growing number of social groups and gatherings, both in your location and online. This and so much more is in store for you. You can join me on www.goingsolonextstep.com. I'm looking forward to being with you right there on Going Solo Next Step. See you there.
Hello, everybody. This is Amy Sherman. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and the co-host to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living Show on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. And today we are talking about whether or not you are guilty of irrational thinking. And we're going over some different irrational thoughts that people have to help protect them when they feel that they are compromised or their fragile ego has been stepped on, that maybe their pride has been attacked and that they need to protect themselves from this. So we rationalize, or we tend to rationalize, but our thinking becomes irrational, and it's not healthy. So we're going to continue with the next irrational thought, and that is judgmental thinking. Now, this is when you minimize the significance of your actions, and this is very important, while becoming very hypercritical of others, and you're becoming too sensitive, and which causes you to be unrealistic. So you have to be aware that the faults you find in others are commonly your own faults as well. So when you're judging somebody for doing something, you've got to look at yourself and say, am I guilty of that as well? And if you're unaware of doing that, then you're going to be guilty of being so hypercritical of others that you don't see it in yourself, and that, of course, causes you to alienate yourself from others and cause you to not have friends or even to stay in a relationship. So by judging others for their shortcomings, you are judging your own self-importance, which is another way to set yourself apart. By being defensive, you are saying that the problem is with the other person and not with yourself. So you have to realize that most everyone has the same insecurities. We all do. We have frailties. We have uncertainties. We're not sure of ourselves. And when you take responsibility for your actions by acknowledging the part you played in the development of a situation, you will be more respected and judged less yourself, which is what you want. Because, look, we all want to be accepted, don't we? And we all want others to like us. But if you're being judgmental of others and not seeing it in yourself, what do you think others are going to say? They're going to say, oh, let's stay away from so-and-so because he, she, is always judging me. I feel so uncomfortable around them. So just watch this, be aware, and many abusers, physically, emotional abusers, will use this tactic in their abusive relationships with their partners because they're always blaming the other person, which causes the other person to say to themselves, am I guilty of this? Am I to blame for causing him or her to be violent? And so that's a very common tactic, and I don't want you to be caught up in that. I want you to be aware if you are guilty of this yourself. Here's another irrational thought, dramatic thinking. And this has to do with people enjoying life more when there's a lot of drama going on. Do you know, and I'm sure we all know, and I have several friends who are like this, there is always a saga going on. There's always something happening. There's always a story to tell. You won't believe what happened to me today. And then they go on with the story. These people are enjoying the drama. And perhaps it gives them a rush or an energy kick. When you add, the drama to your situation, you're escalating the negative and really perceiving the circumstances out of proportion. So you need to accept that, your day could actually flow. It could go more easily when you choose to create a more peaceful, uncomplicated, and carefree life. Things don't always have to be a drama. And when you realize that, it would be so much easier for you, because you may even say, oh, this person always lets things, pass over them. They never get excited. They never get upset. Yeah. And you could be that way, too, if you become aware of the drama that you yourself are creating or that you are focusing on in your life. So this dramatic thinking, try not to make everything sensational or gripping or out of the ordinary or negative. Try to look at things and say, well, so-and-so, this happened. Yeah, I'll let it go. And your life will be easier and your life will be calmer and you'll be less agitated and anxiety-ridden and angry. Okay, here's another one, overreactive thinking. When you overreact to the slightest comment, you are being hyper-alert, because you're always on the defensive then. Everything appears to be a potential danger or everyone is an enemy. And, your filters for rational thinking become overpowered by your fears that you will be harmed, slighted, or even threatened by something or someone. And this puts you in a state of constant alert and vigilance, which is, as we know, irrational. And it's also harmful to you physically and emotionally. So basically, people who are overreactive thinkers are generally, they don't trust. They're always very cautious. They're always suspicious of others. They're always questioning motives because they are hyper alert. They're aware that, hey, others seem a little suspicious and I'm not going to trust them. And by being that way all the time, it keeps you from enjoying your life and having your serenity and, peace and calm and contentment and all those things that we all look for in life. Here's another one, regret-filled thinking. How many times have you said, if only I had taken this job, if only I had moved to this location? In other words, you're focusing on your past mistakes, and you don't want to be walking around constantly beating yourself up and berating yourselves for things you should have done. So I want you to tell yourself, if you knew better, you would have done better. And that you can't change it. Now you did the best you could at the time. Now you know better, and you will do better. Remind yourself that these things happened in the past, no sense bringing them into the future or the present or the future, and that I know better now. If I get this opportunity again, I will take it, and yada, yada, yada. So you have made poor choices in the past, and maybe you didn't have appropriate skills, but now you do. And you're ready to move on and learn from those lessons, and that's important. So that's a very important awareness that you need to have so that you will no longer be riddled with regret-filled thinking, which could really set you back and make you feel bad about yourself, ruin your self-esteem and your confidence in yourself and all those other things that are so important to our well-being. Now here's the last irrational thinking that we have, comparative thinking. How many times you say, oh, I'm comparing myself to so-and-so. Look what she does. How come I can't do that? I'm not good enough, and so on. So if you over-magnify another person's strengths and weaknesses and feel compelled to compare yourself by feeling inadequate or inferior, you're being too competitive and too critical. So this kind of competition is very destructive, especially if you're in a relationship and your partner is maybe making more money than you or maybe thinner than you or whatever it is, and you're competing. So instead, you want to focus on doing the best that you can right now so that you function better and are not dwelling on insignificant comparisons and differences, and that is extremely important for you to understand. So in this second half of our irrational thinking, we talked about judgmental thinking, dramatic thinking, overreactive thinking, regret-filled thinking, and comparative thinking. We're going to take a break now, and we're going to talk about what we can do about all of this. So this is Amy Sherman at WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. I'm on the Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living Show. We'll be right back.
Welcome to GoingSoloTravelers.com. Going Solo Travelers is about connecting, making new friends, exploring, and enjoying new fun times together. Laughter and the excitement of seeing and exploring something new creates memories that will last forever. Come join us on GoingSoloTravelers.com.
Hi, everybody. This is Amy Sherman, the Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living Show, and we're talking about irrational thinking, and if you are guilty of any of these 10 irrational thoughts that we just talked about. So I want to just clarify that all these irrational thinking thoughts that we have just discussed are all about absolutes, which is impossible to maintain, because if we are using any of these irrational thoughts, we feel that it's based on shoulds and musts and ought tos, and it's bound to set you up for disappointment and frustration when your expectations aren't met. So that disappointment, fuels your anger, and an endless cycle continues. So you continue with the irrational thinking. Why am I so bad? Why am I so stupid? Why do I get angry all the time? Why don't I have friends? How come I don't have money? Why does this person have more money than me? And you go on and on and on and on. So what you need to do is try to move beyond most irritations by reaffirming thoughts that are comforting, empowering, and supportive to you. So remember that today is the first day of the rest of your life. So if you could identify this today, you can choose to make it a kinder and gentler experience for you in the future. You're not powerless with these irrational thoughts, and you can change this destructive thinking by becoming aware of the thoughts that trigger the emotions and the emotions that trigger your thinking. Let me say that again. Become aware of the thoughts that trigger your emotions. So why am I getting angry? Why am I getting sad? Why am I having a pity party? What are those thoughts that I'm having right now? And then what emotions am I feeling that are triggering the thoughts that I'm having and then my behavior? The key is to challenge your thoughts, to give yourself rational, logical alternatives to think about, and then behave in a manner that's consistent with your new rational thoughts. I want you to if you can, take down these questions and see if you could answer them, because by answering them, and I'll give you a little time, I'll say them slowly, you will be able to understand your irrational thinking and how detrimental they are. So, ask yourself, am I judging my family, my friends too harshly? And why is that so? Am I judging my family and friends too harshly, and why is that so? The second one is, am I over-exaggerating a certain dilemma or situation? And you need to explain that. So are you? It's not just a yes or no answer. Are you, and why? Am I over-exaggerating a certain dilemma? Can I look at it another way, in other words? The third one, am I putting blame on others when I should be looking at myself? So ask yourself, what is my part in the situation? And you have to really be very objective about this. So what is my part in the situation? Am I putting blame on others when I should really be looking at myself for my part? The fourth one, is my anger or sadness or lack of confidence causing me to see things unclearly without objectivity. So the feelings that I'm having now, you could tell yourself, are they causing me to, is it clouding my objectivity? The fifth one. And how is this affecting my relationships? And this is a good one, because if you're noticing that people are stepping away from you, then you have too many irrational thoughts going on in your head that's alienating people. So how is this affecting my relationships? Well, that's a good question. And the last one is, what can I do to change all this? So if you need to stop overly generalizing and understanding that things are not all black and white, and that if you are assuming things without all the facts, that get the facts before you make a judgment, or that you feel that you're so overly dramatic, you get off on that drama. You're kind of used to it and you like it. These are things that you could say to yourself, I need to change this. This is doing me no good. This is not serving any purpose for me. It's not getting me what I need or want. And then make those changes, because you know if you're being overgeneralizing, then you have to be less generalizing. It's just the opposite. It's just allowing yourself and being open to another perspective, just another way of thinking. It's just trying on another jacket to see if it fits. And you'll find you'll be happier for it, and you'll be living your life with less disappointment, with less frustration, and with more support from people who want to be with you, but don't want to be around you when you are this way. So I hope this helps, and I hope that you have learned some lessons on how you could change your thinking so that you could live a happier, more content life and be more fulfilled. If there are any questions, you could reach me at amybethsherman@gmail.com. Again, I am a co-host of Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living Show on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. We'll see you next time. Bye now.
You're listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio Channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.